We are back on a happy hour, Papa and Ratto, and I've already referenced our friend Steve Moskowitz a couple of times. We got a cell phone getting smashed. Can we sue? And we opened the show with a mild, not an argument, but, you know, some hot talk about this Rooney Rule relating to the Raiders hiring of Jon Gruden. And I guess the essence of this would be, when is an agreement an agreement? Is an agreement when Jon Gruden says yes and nods his head, or is it an agreement when Jon Gruden pulls out a pen and signs his name to a contract?
Oh, you can definitely have an agreement verbally, and where the mistake was made is the rule says you can't just hire the guy without talking to the other player, the player that's covered under this. So if they said to him, you know what, you're a real good candidate, but we're still going to talk to other people, we'll let you know, that would have been fine. The problem is, I'll give you the job, I accept, and then you hire, excuse me, and then you interview the other guys. That's where the problem comes out. And then it's also nebulous because what's the punishment? Well, it's only happened one other time, and the commissioner says, you know, I think I'm going to fine you 200 or a $500,000 or $1 million or a zillion, and if the commissioner makes it too much, I'm sure Mr. Davis will go right into court, just like his daddy.
So the question then is, as I postulated before, how the National Football League, in its rule, defines agreement. And there's nothing in the Rooney Rule that defines specifically an agreement. So if there's no definition of agreement,
then I would go to when is a contract formed? That's actually that's a first-year law school course. When is a contract formed? And basically, there's an offer. I offer you X, and if you say I accept, boom, you have a contract.
But that's not binding, is it, Steve?
Oh, very much so. Absolutely, yes.
I have to do it if I say I'm going to do something and then I don't sign a piece of paper. I have to do that?
Most contracts are verbal. So where they would have got around it if he said, you know, I'll think about it. If either guy said, I'll think about it, we don't have a contract. But if somebody says, I offer you X, and the other guy says, I accept, that's the problem. What they should have, well, what they really should have done was talk to the guys first. That's what you're supposed to do. But even if they had, and this guy
satisfy the Rooney Rule.
Or lied better.
And I'm sure.
Well, you know what's also interesting is every comment Jon Gruden made publicly, even when he was doing the football game on Saturday, was nothing's official yet, nothing's official yet, and he always broached it as though he was a candidate and not the choice. It maybe to cover their tracks.
Even if they met with him first, if either party said I'll think about it, they would have been fine. That's the difference. But you know, you have Mr. Davis saying something that caused a problem.
Okay, if, on the other hand, Mark Davis says, I want you, you want me, but I'm not going to offer you anything until I do the Rooney Rule hurdle.
Oh, it's fine.
Is that good enough?
No problem.
So basically what this was is Mark Davis, his eagerness to get this done, he skipped over that other step, either knowingly or just because he was so enraptured.
And didn't talk to his lawyer.
Right. Okay.
Let me ask you just one thing about the structure of the contract as it relates to the state of Nevada. So Jon signed a 10-year deal for $100 million. The first 2 years they're going to play in the state of California. The last 8 years of the contract, state of Nevada. We've talked about this before, 13.3% state income tax versus 0. The way the contract has been reported is Jon's going to make $25 million, $5 million a year the first 2 years, then $75 million after that.
Sure, it's smart.
Yeah, right. But could you, in theory, say, I will work for $1 in 2018 and $1 in 2019 and take the other, the balance of the $100 million when we get to Nevada? Or the IRS come in and say, wait a minute, you're circumventing state laws here.
You could. Well, that doesn't care about the state laws, but the question is substance over form. If he truly was working for a buck, that's fine. But with the government steps in, you see it all the time, especially with small business, substance over form. What are you really doing? And the government can say, look, that nobody works for $1. You're not doing that. You're trying to pull something here. So like so many other questions with lawyers, it depends. But that would be the problem. Obviously, you want to make less because, you know, you give away 13.3, which now, under our Congress's infinite wisdom, is no longer deductible on our federal return. Ouch.
Have a nice day. Also, real quickly, the University of Arizona fired its football coach, Rich Rodriguez, for cause because of allegations of sexual impropriety. And more schools are firing for cause so they can basically terminate the contract then and there. Now he's going to go to court to argue that this was an improper firing. Is the school still responsible for him until the court case is done? Or can they just say, well, we fired him, we said it's for cause, that's good enough, we're not paying him another dime?
The school is going to say, we fired him, we're done, and then you go to court because I don't like what that guy did to me. Judge, make him change that. So that's what they're going to do. But here we have other things, too, like improperly using funds, and that is a real problem.
Is it technically firing him for cause there, or a violation of the moral turpitude clause in the contract?
Well, it can be either, but in a lot of places like California, here we have at-will employment. So it's fine to say from the employer, you're fired. That's fine. But the minute he says, you're fired because you're in the wrong religion or the wrong age, or that's when you get in trouble.
Right.
But it's just, you're fired is fine. You're fired because, that's where you start to get into trouble. And if you do have something for cause, in these type of contracts, there's always the morals clause, and what did he do? And then there's the other problems like having 2 bad seasons.
Yeah, well, the allegations were severe as well. I learned something today. I didn't realize that an oral agreement like that was as binding. I thought it had to be on a piece of paper.
Absolutely. Most contracts are verbal.
I better be careful what I say around here.
That's making you call.
I'm not going to agree to that, Steve. Steve Moskowitz joining us. He joins us every Thursday. Kelly will come back. We'll also get a visit from our Giant insider from NBCSportsBayArea.com, Alex Pavlovich. Jay Bruce is going to stay with Sandy Alderson and the New York Mets, re-signing with them. So what's the Giants' next plan to fill center field and right field? That's next on the Happy Hour.